If there's one thing guaranteed in life, it's that you will die. And yet we live as if it won't happen to us. Every day we hear about death, accidents, illness, tragedy. But in our minds, that's for other people, not for us. We live with the feeling that our days will never really end. We feel immortal. People think they have time, not because they have proof, but because they're afraid to think about the opposite. It's easier to live as if tomorrow is guaranteed. We wake up in the morning and continue our lives as if we have unlimited time. I noticed something strange. When someone close dies, at first there's shock, pain. It feels real, but with time, everything starts to fade. The memories become rarer, less intense, and eventually that person feels like a dream. Everything feels powerful while it's recent, but over time the memories fade, they thin out, they don't carry the same weight anymore. You remember, but vaguely, and life moves on. And still, we never think that one day we might become the person others remember like a fading dream. I saw this up close. I saw someone laughing, and an hour later he was dead. A friend, only 18 years old, healthy, full of life. That evening we were laughing together, and the next day he went into a pool and never came back out. And it hit me hard. Because that night, no one was thinking about death. We were laughing, joking, talking about normal things, exactly like people do every day. And yet, for him, that was his last evening at the block. No warning, no sign, no time to prepare. This is where I think many people are mistaken. We think we'll know, that we'll have time, that later we'll deal with the important things. But many people have died believing they still had time. Another one, 16 years old, got into a car without knowing it would be the last time. And even after all that, my mind still believed it wouldn't happen to me. None of them woke up in the morning thinking, today is my last day. They had things to do. They had dreams. They had people they wanted to see again. Just like us. But life never promises us that we'll ever reach that later. And yet, after all of that, my mind still believed it won't happen to me. And that contrast between normal life and sudden finality is exactly what the human mind struggles to process. People think they have time not because they have proof, but because it's easier to live without thinking about the alternative. Facing the idea of an ending isn't just uncomfortable, it's instinctively rejected because it would completely change the way we live. I know what it's like to avoid that thought. I did it for years. I covered it with noise, distraction, routine, my phone, music, jokes. Even at night, people fall asleep with headphones on just so they don't have to hear their own thoughts. I was one of them. But I could see these thoughts weren't temporary. When the distractions stop, when the headphones come off, the thoughts return, and you make noise again so you don't have to face them. Because in the silence, the thought appears that maybe tomorrow won't come, and I didn't want to let it stay. The human mind avoids the ending. The ending forces honesty. It's easier to ignore it because what you don't think about feels like it can't affect you, but that's only an illusion. It's strange. Hunger disappears when you feed it. Thirst disappears when you drink water. Cold disappears when you cover yourself. But there's one thought that never disappears. The thought of death. Because you don't solve it, you don't silence it, You only postpone it, push it deeper, hide it inside busy days. But when everything gets quiet, it comes back stronger than before. We tell ourselves we take care of ourselves, that we're healthy, that we're not in danger, and yet reality doesn't care. People more careful than us have disappeared. Younger people, more disciplined, more prepared, and still they died. We keep living as if we're the exception, as if the rule doesn't apply to us. But the truth is simple. It's not death itself that scares us. It's the fact that we can't control it. That all the safety we think we have isn't real, and somewhere deep down, we know it, even if we never admit it. We like the idea of control, to believe that if we do everything right, we'll be fine. That if we take care of our health, if we're careful, if we organize our lives, somehow we're protected. But reality doesn't work according to the safety we invent for ourselves. I've seen healthy people die. I've seen happy people die. I've seen people who looked like they had their whole lives ahead of them. And in a moment, it was all over. That doesn't mean we shouldn't be responsible. But it does mean that no matter how much we try, we're not the ones in control in the end. For me, the change didn't come because I was looking for it. It came through confrontation. Someone asked me questions that bothered me, and out of pride, I wanted to prove I was right. So I started searching not to change, but to win. But in that process, I started finding answers I could no longer ignore. And that's the moment when you stop searching just to be right and start searching for the truth. I realized something. The problem wasn't that I didn't know. The problem was that I didn't want to accept it. Because truth demands a response. And once you see it, you can't stay neutral anymore. You can reject it, you can ignore it, but you can't say you don't know. In that search, I came to something I didn't expect. Not an idea, not a religion, but a person, Jesus Christ. And for the first time, I understood something different. It's not about how good you are. It's not about how hard you try. Because if it were, none of us would be enough. It's about grace, about the fact that you don't save yourself. Because if salvation depended on our perfection, none of us would have hope. We've all done wrong. We've all sinned. We've all tried to justify ourselves, myself included. But I understood that Jesus Christ didn't come for people who think they're perfect. He came for people who realize they need saving. This was no longer just an idea to accept or reject. It was something that completely changed the perspective. Something that forces you to take a position. Because the message of Jesus Christ never stays neutral in a person's life. You either receive it or reject it. But you can no longer say you haven't heard it. Before, I avoided these thoughts. I mocked them, rejected them because I didn't want to accept that I needed help. But things changed, not because I became perfect, but because I understood I didn't have to be. Through Jesus Christ, there is forgiveness. There is salvation. Not through merit, but through grace. And this is where every person arrives at a choice. Not between opinions, but between ignoring or responding. Because there is no neutrality. Even delaying is already a choice. Life is limited, that much is certain, but the direction you're heading is not. And the question is not whether you've heard the truth, but what you do with it. Because in the end, It's not the lack of information that matters. It's the response. And one day, all distractions stop. All plans stop. All the noise disappears. And only one thing remains: truth. And the question won't be how busy you were, or how many plans you had, but whether you chose to respond when the truth reached you.